Okay folks, welcome to our second tutorial on networking here. We're going to continue trying to work through some of the mysteries of the internet and IP addressing, etc. Alright, where we started last time with our tutorials using a command interpreter. We're running a Windows XP operating system here, but this can also be easily done using Vista, Windows 7, and any other operating system. It's just going to be a little different. So my XP, I type run, or I go to run and click on it, and I just type in CMD for command. And that brings up my command interpreter, and I can begin typing commands. Quick review from our earlier tutorial: we learned how to use ipconfig, which displays the IP address in our default gateway. We learned to use the ping command, which allows us to test the presence of another system somewhere out on our network or the internet. And then thirdly, we learned the hostname command, which shows us the friendly name for our computer. Okay, so moving on here, we start an analogy here that DNS, or domain naming systems, and IP addresses are just like old-fashioned technology we know as the telephone, where we all have telephone numbers, and then we also have a directory that tells us how to get a hold of people called the telephone book. So in order to call somebody, I know their name, but I probably can't memorize every phone number for folks that I know. So I look it up in the telephone book. Alright, and in the telephone book, I can look and I can find somebody's phone number. And then I can call using that phone number. Alright, so DNS works the same way. If I want to go to somebody's website, I type in their URL, okay, their nice friendly name. For instance, www.umt.edu. Takes me to the University of Montana website, and then once I type that, there's a process that takes place, and the computer handles it for me, and my DNS information handles it, where the computer will actually go to DNS or the telephone book and find the IP address and then make a connection based upon that IP address. Okay, so for our telephone system, telephone numbers are needed for the telephone. Phone directory is needed for humans. Alright, same thing here with the internet. IP addresses are needed for computers, but we have these nice familiar URLs that are used by human beings. Alright, well, let's use some commands to kind of illustrate this here. I have my flashing prompt waiting for me to put something in at the command interpreter here, and I'm going to teach a new command here. It's called NSLookup. Okay, and NSLookup allows me to use basically a telephone book or DNS to look up a particular IP address for any domain out there. Alright, so I'm going to use a newspaper site. We'll use the New York Times, and if I type in NSLookup space www.nytimes.com and then hit enter, wait here. Whoop, I had a timeout. Wonder why that was. Let's try that one more time. Okay, that time it worked. Alright, so a couple lessons here. First, anytime you do a command interpreter, make sure you're precise with what you say. Alright, computers are, honestly, they're not very smart. We like to give them credit for being smart, but they'll only do exactly what you tell them to do. Alright, so here, make sure that you don't have any typos. Spaces really get folks in trouble. And a syntax. Syntax is the appropriate way, I guess it's grammar, might be no way of thinking of, appropriate way we tell the computer to do something. So I use the NSLookup command. I say NSLookup, which is one word. Again, it could be uppercase, lowercase, or mixed. And then a space, then I tell it the site that I want to go to. So I say NSLookup space, and I say look up www.nytimes.com. If we look over here, you can see here's my answer. This is my DNS server. This is the telephone book where it's looking for the answer. And right down here, here's the answer. So my the IP address for my search here, www.nytimes.com, is 170.149.173.130. Okay, let's see if we can ping that. Some websites turn off the ping command just so they don't get. It's a security reason, and prevents them from getting denial of service attacks. Which, if you're interested, look that up. Alright, so let me ping it, and we may or may not get a response from the New York Times. Hit enter there, and I do get a response. Okay? So I can ping the New York Times by IP address, or I can ping it by its friendly name. Maybe, maybe not. I'm getting a request timeout. Let me stop it. Control C will stop anything that I'm doing. I'll just try and type it again. Let's see if we're getting... I'm not able to ping it that way. Okay, no worries. Let's do this now. I can scroll up and down my command window. When I did an NSLookup for the New York Times, in fact, let's do it again down here. NSLookup, www.nytimes.com. Okay, so there's my answer again, and I'm going to pull up my web browser here. Alright, and of course I can go to www.nytimes.com. Notice how my web browser threw into in my URL there, it threw in a protocol. I failed to list that. Recognize if you fail to list that, our web browsers are pretty smart. They make up for that deficiency. Alright, well here we go. Let's do this now. If this system works the way that we're describing it, we should be able to go to the URL http:// and then put the IP address in 199.239.136.200. And that should take me to the New York Times website. Hit enter. And by golly, it works. Okay? So, if nothing else here, a couple things we learned. One is how to use the NSLookup command. And we used the analogy that is very similar to the telephone book. And then two, we can go out using our web browser, whatever internet tool we want to use, and we can reach a site either by URL, okay, using a friendly name, a DNS name, or we could also reach that site using its IP address.